Many people come to America carrying hopes of a prosperous, luxurious, and opportunity-filled American dream. But reality paints a picture in the harshest way, one that no one is ever truly prepared to face.
We live in a time of decline. China is winning. We are losing.
You have a master's degree.
I do.
And other education.
I do.
And you're out on the streets.
I am.
I think the whole American democracy is sold themselves to the big monopolies, and that's why American dream is gone.
Sadly, the American dream
Is dead.
No one ever imagines that the dreams they built their whole life around could end in the backseat of an old car, a makeshift tent, or a cold bench on the street. But when rent climbs out of reach, when inflation quietly eats away at every paycheck, and when the once reliable safety nets begin to unravel, it takes just one slip to lose the place we used to call home. Homelessness is no longer a tragedy reserved for those at the very bottom of society. In an America that feels more fragile by the day, even the educated, the employed, and those who once believed they were secure are finding themselves just one crisis away from the edge. In today's video, we will explore the 10 groups of people most at risk of becoming homeless if America collapses and the country faces a crisis and economic recession. Stay tuned until the end of the video, as you or your loved ones might be on this list without even knowing it. As usual, this is not a pessimistic warning but a reflective perspective from various sources aimed at helping the community understand better and prepare proactively. Are you ready to explore the first group? Let's start right now. When people are young, everyone dreams of a peaceful old age in a cozy home. But with the gradual fading of the American dream, that vision is becoming a luxury, perhaps even an impossibility, for millions of elderly people living on Social Security. They were once the ones who built the foundation of this nation. They paid taxes, obeyed the law, contributed, and hoped that when they grew old, society would repay them with a decent life. But instead of a peaceful and comfortable life, hundreds of thousands of elderly people in the US are currently living on the brink of homelessness. Or worse, some have actually fallen into it. According to data from the National Alliance to End Homelessness, people aged 50 and older are currently the group experiencing the fastest increase in homelessness in the US, and this number is expected to triple in the coming years. This is no longer the story of a minority. This is a sign of a silent crisis, and it is spreading like a crack beneath the feet of those who have aged alongside America. Just looking at the simplest numbers is enough to see how big the problem is. In 2025, the average pension for Americans will be only about $1,900 per month. For those with low incomes, the Social Security benefits they receive are even more meager, only around $550. Meanwhile, the rent for a one-bedroom apartment in major cities has exceeded $3,000 per month. And this cost does not even include utilities, medicine, or food.
Banks collapsing, US dollars under attack, looming recession. What is going on? How do we step back and think about this moment?
If America continues to fall into recession, if the warnings of economic experts become reality, with the budget being cut, interest rates rising, and the value of the dollar plummeting, that meager amount of money might shrink even further. And once the safety net is torn apart, the elderly, those least able to defend themselves, will be the first victims. It won't be hard to find an elderly person huddled in a corner of Times Square under the dazzling lights of the American dream. They not only lose their homes, they lose their voices, their dignity, their hope. Many people have to live in dilapidated, mouse-infested housing, temporarily sheltering cars, or line up every night outside relief centers hoping to get a thin mattress to rest on. That is an ending they never imagined when they were young, when they still believed in America as a land of fair rewards. If those who have dedicated their entire lives to the country can also be pushed into homelessness, then is anyone among us truly safe? If a society is expelling those who built it, can it still be considered a civilized society worth trusting and committing to? The middle class was once a symbol of stability, the American dream. But that image is gradually fading. Once an economic crisis hits, even those considered the safest can be among the first groups to hit rock bottom. Because the truth, which I believe you can easily see, is that the middle class today is becoming more vulnerable than ever.
Financially, things have definitely been a struggle for me. This past month, I was left with $125 in my checking account, and that's it.
According to data from the National True Cost of Living Coalition, 65% of middle-class Americans say they are facing financial difficulties. And more concerning, they do not expect the situation to improve for the rest of their lives. What has caused those who once could take care of themselves to become so passive now? Look at Michelle, a woman with a master's degree, who used to be a social worker and worked in special education and mental health. But within just 2 weeks, she lost both her job and her apartment, and for nearly 2 years, Michelle has been homeless on the streets. It's not because she hasn't tried. It's because her efforts are no longer enough to survive in an America that is gradually losing what once protected workers.
However, 1 or 2 bad paychecks can put anybody out here.
Even a master's degree couldn't help Michelle reunite with her daughter and save her from having to sleep in the park. She emphasized that anyone can fall into this situation after just a few missed paychecks. Michelle is not the only case. Every day, there are millions of other middle-class people also walking on a thin financial tightrope. With an average rent of nearly $5,000 per month for a family apartment in major cities, anyone can be pushed out of their home just because of a late payment. Worse yet, America is facing a shortage of 4.5 million homes, primarily due to local policies that hinder the construction of new housing. But housing costs are just part of the picture. Electricity, water, food, property taxes, tuition, childcare costs, all have skyrocketed, while incomes have not kept pace. A middle-class family might be doing okay today, but if a rent bill, a medical bill, or a cut in hours suddenly hits, they could quickly slip beyond the safety line. When you no longer have a financial cushion to support you, even the smallest stumble can send you plummeting to the bottom, with no way back. The middle class is no longer the solid core of society. They are the ones who can go to work every day, are educated and responsible, but have to live with the constant worry of an unexpected crisis. If even those considered the most stable and secure cannot escape the fate of becoming homeless, then are you sure you are not on that list? It's time for us to face a reality and start with savings, a risk management plan, and a proactive mindset. Every dollar you save today could be the only lifeline keeping your future self from being swept away in this unprecedented era of instability. Cleaning your office after hours, cooking your lunch in the restaurant kitchen behind the curtain, picking fruits for your breakfast from fields thousands of miles away. They don't have flashy uniforms, no names on long-term payrolls, but they are the silent backbone of America. And now, in an increasingly unstable economy, they are the most precarious groups, where just a whisper of recession is enough to blow them into the abyss. Over the past 3 decades, the rate of labor without stable contracts, requiring no high qualifications or seasonal work has been quietly increasing. According to current estimates, there are about 20 million Americans in this vulnerable labor group, those who are always on the fringes of stability, even though they work every day. The problem is, they don't have any safety net underneath them. No official contracts, no health insurance, no paid vacation days. Every dollar earned is for specific hours of labor, and when those hours are cut, the income disappears as well. According to data from USA Facts, Approximately 2 million people are laid off in February 2025, and this number will skyrocket during sensitive periods such as economic crises or corporate mergers. When these people lose their jobs, they do not receive full unemployment benefits, nor can they see a doctor when needed. They only have two options: get enough hours to work next week, or sleep in their cars, in the park, or in front of the gas station. While they are the ones who help keep your family's dinner on the table, they don't even have a roof over their own heads. America is run every day by them. Those who do not appear in financial reports but carry the American dream on their shoulders. A society is truly strong only when it knows how to support the most vulnerable. So if those who once dedicated themselves and worked hard are the first to be left behind, then is America still the place where they once placed their full trust? The government can do something. With a more humane policy, the government can completely design basic health and unemployment insurance packages specifically for the seasonal labor group. Flexible, free vocational training programs can also help them upgrade their skills, not just to keep their jobs, but also to break the cycle of working, losing jobs, homelessness. They once wore uniforms, carrying the belief in protecting freedom, facing danger every day on distant battlefields. But now, when they return home, where they hope to be welcomed as heroes, many American veterans are fighting another, even more terrifying enemy: neglect, poverty, and a roof over their heads for the night. According to data from the US Department of Veterans Affairs, on any given day, there are nearly 48,000 homeless veterans. And this number does not include 1.4 million others who are at high risk of losing their homes at any moment. What's noteworthy is that not all of these people have made mistakes or are lazy. Many of them have served honorably, sacrificing their physical and mental health for this country. Veterans after discharge often face difficulties reintegrating, lacking skills suitable for the labor market, experiencing psychological or physical injuries, and unable to quickly access support services from the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA. Many are trapped in a bureaucratic maze where each request for assistance is delayed by months of waiting for approval, a shortage of doctors, a lack of staff, and a deficiency in compassion. But the scariest part is, they are not the only group facing the risk of homelessness if America falls into crisis. And if you're thinking, that won't happen to me, then remember the words of a veteran. I used to wear a uniform, have a salary, and have honor. Just after one incident, I became invisible in society. This is not a story about the weak. This is a story about a system with no room for error. If even those who once protected us no longer have minimal protection, then who will be next? Immigrants, those who pack their entire lives into a suitcase, cross oceans and borders in search of an opportunity in a place called the Promised Land, America. But what millions of immigrants do not expect is that even in a country once seen as a land of opportunity and freedom, they can still fall to the depths with just a small slip. Immigrants are one of the most quietly yet persistently hard-working groups in the US. They do the jobs that locals do not want to do, contributing to the daily functioning of the economic wheel. But they live in constant fear. Fear of being laid off, fear of being deported, fear of being left behind if the economy suddenly collapses. Many immigrants do not have legal documents or only have temporary visas, which prevents them from accessing basic benefits. No health insurance, no unemployment benefits, no right to stable housing. They have to live cramped in overcrowded rooms, without contracts, without legal protection. And when a mass layoff occurs, they are the first to be cut. Worse yet, the wave of anti-immigration politics and tightening visa policies are making the situation even more severe. Many people, despite having lived in the US for over 10 years and having children born here, still do not have the right to own a legal place of refuge. A slip-up, losing a job, an accident, or a visa expiration can wipe out everything they have built. I believe that everyone has their own feelings and experiences, but clearly the lives of immigrants in the US are becoming increasingly difficult. If you are an immigrant living here, I would love to hear your perspective. Do you notice anything changing? Please leave a comment below, because I believe that when we share information, experiences, and perspectives together, we not only understand each other better, but can also find a more positive and stable direction during this turbulent time. In an increasingly expensive and harsh America, people with disabilities and those with chronic illnesses are gradually falling into the shadows. For many people in this group, the dream of a normal life has become a luxury, let alone financial stability. A person with severe diabetes, chronic joint pain, or undergoing cancer treatment cannot work enough hours to maintain health insurance, nor can they keep up with the competitive pace of life meant for the healthy. The benefits they receive, usually from SSI or Social Security disability, are only around $900 to $1,200 USD per month. Meanwhile, a rundown apartment in the suburbs already rents for over $1,500. With that equation, no national crisis is needed to push them to the bottom. Just a severe cold, a missed insurance payment, or a month of late payments. And what if the economy really collapses? What if the US has to cut welfare programs to save the national budget? The sick, those who cannot work full-time, they are the first group to be severely affected. And if you think you are strong, healthy, immune to risk, remember that health is the most fragile thing. An accident, a test result, a loss of insurance, and you could find yourself in that very position. Are we building a sustainable society, or are we just waiting until we ourselves become the ones left behind? No one steps into the role of a single parent with a mindset ready for every eventuality. They only know that they have to try twice as hard, because there is no one else behind them to support. So, in a society where prices are rising week by week, single parents are becoming one of the groups most likely to fall into homelessness if America faces a crisis. Without a second source of income to share the burden, without anyone to step in when the child is sick or the school is closed, single parents often find themselves caught between work and family responsibilities. And when one of those two things falls apart, they can easily fall apart too. One job loss, one unexpected medical bill, 1 week without childcare is enough to send any financial plan into freefall. According to statistics, nearly 30% of households in the US are headed by a single parent. Most of them are women, and many are living below the poverty line. With an average income that is 3 to 4 times lower than that of 2 adult households, and having to pay for rent, food, gas, medical care, and raising children on their own, they have almost no savings to fall back on in case of emergencies. What's more, the cost of childcare in the US is among the highest in the world. The cost of a day's work, after deducting childcare expenses, sometimes makes them lose even more by staying at home. This cycle pushes them out of the labour market, further reducing their income and making their ability to maintain housing more fragile than ever. And if a real economic recession occurs, as many financial experts have warned, then this group is likely to be the most heavily affected because they have almost no room to maneuver. They are not necessarily failures, but in a system lacking flexibility and timely support, could they be pushed into a situation where all their efforts become invisible? People living on credit cards and loans are not uncommon in modern America. With the skyrocketing prices of housing, utilities, food, healthcare, and tuition over the past decade, more and more people have to rely on credit cards, car loans, personal loans, or refinancing their homes to cover living expenses. And they often juggle debts just to get through this month. And just a small shock, like losing a job, an unexpected medical expense, or rising interest rates, everything can collapse within weeks. What makes this group particularly vulnerable is that they often appear stable. They do not receive subsidies, do not live below the poverty line, and are not on the priority support list. But they also have no real assets, no emergency savings, and no one willing to help when the crisis hits. They are adrift between two worlds, not poor enough to receive help, but too fragile to save themselves. And if the American economy truly collapses, if banks tighten credit, if unemployment rates rise, if the cost of living continues to soar, then the group living on credit will be one of the first to lose their ability to survive. Have you ever checked your credit statement? Are you living off your income? Or are you actually living off loans? And if tomorrow the credit line is cut off, the credit card is locked, and the income is halved, how long will you last? Recent graduates are one of the most vulnerable groups if America falls into crisis, yet they are one of the least noticed groups. They often have no assets, no savings, no solid connections in their field, and many are starting their careers with tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt on their shoulders. In an economy where even experienced individuals struggle to keep their jobs, young people are not being hired, not because they are incompetent, but simply because they have never been given a chance. Unlike previous generations, today's students can no longer rely on working hard to achieve stability. They face a job market more competitive than ever, with robots and AI increasingly replacing routine jobs, with support policies being cut, and the value of degrees gradually eroded by knowledge inflation. Worse, many students have to choose to stay in cheap housing, live in overcrowded conditions, or even crash on friends' sofas, just to avoid falling into homelessness. And if the US economy enters a severe recession, as indicated by signs from the financial markets and warnings from experts, recent graduates will be the first and most deeply affected group. They haven't had the chance to build their careers, haven't had the chance to accumulate wealth, and yet they are already caught in an endless survival race. And if this system remains unchanged as it is now, with no way out, no support, where will the path ahead lead them when the economy starts to crack? When the market stagnates, when businesses tighten their belts, freelancers are the first to be disconnected. They are not fired, but the phone stops ringing, emails go unanswered, and income disappears without anyone needing to give a reason. According to a recent survey by Upwork and Freelancers Union, more than 60% of freelancers in the US do not have health insurance, and nearly 80% do not have an emergency savings fund sufficient to live for more than 3 months if they lose their income. They do not have traditional unemployment benefits, and if they do, accessing them is cumbersome and insufficient to cover basic living expenses. When a real economic downturn occurs, when companies cut budgets for marketing, production, and digital services, freelancers are the first group to lose their income but have no safety net to fall back on. They do not qualify for loans like businesses, nor do they have the documentation to apply for subsidies like traditional workers. If you are living as a freelancer, you have the right to be proud. But you should also face the reality. Are you standing on solid financial ground? Or are you tightrope walking between two buildings without a safety net below? And if tomorrow the contract disappears, the customer cancels the order and costs double, how long will you last before facing the question, where will I sleep tonight? No one thinks they will become homeless. No one starts life dreaming of sleeping on the sidewalk, huddled in an old car, or lining up at a shelter waiting for a cold piece of bread. But today's America is no longer the America of yesterday. When the cost of living skyrockets, housing becomes a luxury, and welfare policies are gradually rolled back, everyone, from the elderly, seasonal workers, single parents, to veterans or the disabled, can be just a few small misfortunes away from homelessness. What do you think about this issue? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and stay updated with our latest videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next part. Please note, the information in this video is compiled from reliable sources and public reports, aimed at analysis and providing a reference perspective. The video is not intended to incite panic, criticize individuals, or provide financial or legal advice. Viewers should consider and verify additional information related to their personal circumstances before making any decisions.